Okay, so I'm guessing that most of you will know what the different keys on a keyboard are and what an octave is. And if you do, then please just go straight to the next lesson. But for those of you who need a reminder, or if you're like really right at the beginning, here's a quick sort of explanation of how to understand a keyboard. I'm going to use this online keyboard. I mean, you can use the same thing if you want, just to mess around. And I just googled just HTML5 piano, and it's this one here, the full 88 keys. Okay, so here I've got my little piano. And just so you're aware, we're not trying to learn how to play the keyboard here. This is not music theory for musicians. This is really specifically music theory for electronic music producers. So we don't need to know how to play a scale, what the fingering is, giggity. We just got to understand the basics just enough to get around so we can get on with writing the melodies. So when you first look at a keyboard, if you're really not used to it at all, it can be a little bit confusing. Obviously there's loads of notes, and I'm sure if you play around with it a bit, you'll figure out that you've got low notes further down and higher notes higher up. But it's very easy, especially if you're new, it's very easy to get lost on a keyboard. Okay, so very simply, just look for the black note pattern. Okay, because the white notes are pretty much the same throughout. So just look at the pattern. So obviously you've got 2 black notes, 3 black notes, 2 black notes, 3 black notes, 2 black notes, and so on up and down the whole keyboard. So a way to always ground yourself, a way to always find where you are on a keyboard, is just to always look for the 2 black notes. Now the note immediately to the left of those is C, okay? C is kind of like the home note, if you like. So it's always good to find out where C is, and from there you can work out where any other notes are. Obviously the notes go alphabetically from A to G. So if you've got C, we've got C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts again, A, B, C, D, E, and so on. Okay, and from C to C is 1 octave. Okay, that's 12 notes. So the whole keyboard is sort of, I guess you could say it's kind of separated into 12 note groups. Okay, so if you go from one letter to another, so let's go from G. Okay, so if I work out what G is first, let's go from this C. Okay, I know this is C because we've got 2 black notes. The note immediately to the left of it is C, so I go C, D, E, F, G. Okay, cool. Now I know where G is. So if I go from G to G, that's also an octave. Okay, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be C, but just remember that that's it. It doesn't matter where you are on the keyboard, whether it's right up the end or right down the bottom. You look for your 2 black notes, find C, and then you can work out wherever you are. So these white notes are considered to be natural notes. Now it's not super important at all for what we're going to learn. We don't need to know the difference, but it's just easier to sort of help explain the black notes. So the black notes are kind of pretty much sort of half steps harmonically between the 2 white notes. So we've got C to D, and then we've got an in-between note. So if I go C, C, C sharp, D, it's just a half step in between the 2 white notes. Now, if I go and toggle on the names of the keyboard, you can see here we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, and so on, all our natural notes, and then we've got these black notes, which are slightly confusingly labeled as C sharp and D flat. The B, the small b, stands for a flat, and this little symbol here, the number symbol, stands for a sharp. So really, for writing melodies and chord progressions in electronic dance music, you really only need to understand the black notes, because in some scales they're going to have sharp symbols, these little number symbols like that, and in some scales they might have a little B next to the note name, okay, a flat symbol. So all you've got to remember is that if it's a sharp, if it says C sharp, the sharp note is always to the right. So if it's F and it says F sharp on the scale description or whatever, then the sharp, F sharp, is always to the right. It doesn't matter. Every sharp is always to the right. So if it's D sharp, for example, okay, I know even without the note names on that the black note exactly to the right of D, that is going to be the sharp. And it's just the opposite if you see a flat note in a scale. If you see a little b, you know it's the flat note. So if it's D, then it's always to the left. Okay, B, if it's B flat, it's always to the left. Okay, so that's it. That's really all you need to understand about black notes. So that's it. Just remember, if you get lost on a keyboard and you've got to figure out what a note is, then just remember that you find the two black notes immediately to the left of that is C, wherever you are on a keyboard. And from there, it's easy to find out where you're going. C, D, E, F, G, if that was a note I was going for. So there may be one instance you may see like a scale where it's got like an E sharp, and you look at the keyboard, you'd be like, huh, there's no sharp note. I can't go to the right of that. There's no black note. But if you ever do see that, E sharp would be F. And it does happen in some like sort of more obscure scales. So just be aware of that. You can sometimes see something that's like a scale that describes it as E sharp, and then you go to look at the keyboard and you're like, well, there is no E sharp. Well, E sharp would be just F in that case. But that's quite rare, so don't worry about it. No problem. Just remember the main bits there and you will get along fine. As soon as you got the scale, which you're going to grab in the next lesson, then you'll know exactly which notes you can and can't use.